Are we on? Awesome. Good evening, everybody. It is Sunday evening. You've had a wonderful weekend, 4th of July, holiday weekend, warm weather. Hope you spent some great time with your family and celebrated the way whether it was with fireworks in your backyard or the grill in your backyard. I hope it was in your backyard. But it is Sunday night. And what better way to end our 4th of July weekend with an episode of Broadway Battles, America Edition. Good evening, folks. I'm Adam Weiner. I'm the Executive Director of Farmers Alley Theater, and we have a wonderful show for you tonight because I'm sure you just got off of Disney Plus, hit pause, got off of Disney Plus, watching Hamilton for the 7th time. To catch that one thing you didn't see before, but we thank you for tuning in to us. And then when we're done, you can go back and keep watching the show. Totally. Hal is here. He's got a pina colada. He's ready to watch the battle. We're going to party like a Lanford Wilson play, folks. It's the 5th of July. So first, we're going to do so by introducing our guest. But first, I want to do this. I want to drop the StreamYard link so people can comment. Okay, so StreamYard is this great system, but that allows us to do this great show for you. But if you'd like to comment and interact with us, allow StreamYard to use your name by going to StreamYard.com/Facebook, and you can comment like Hal just did, and we'll come up on the screen and we'll say, hey, look, yay, there's Hal. Thank you for commenting, and it's fun and it's interactive. And we want to hear from you because you might have some interesting answers, different answers than our contestants. But I digress. Let's go back to introducing the first guest who is thrilled to rejoin his Farmers Alley Theater family in this exciting battle tonight. Farmers Alley Theater audiences will recognize Mr. Peter Riopelle from his performance of John Adams in 1776 in the fall of 2016 when we did the Little Theater on the campus of Western Michigan University. Now, we'll ask him how many times he's played that role in just a minute. It's a lot. He's appeared in the Broadway First National Tour, The Drowsy Chaperone, directed by Tony Award winner Casey Nicholaw. He has also appeared off-Broadway as John Wilkes Booth in The Brothers Booth, amongst others. And he has also appeared on The West Wing. So to say this is right in his wheelhouse is an understatement. Recently, also, Peter was named the new artistic director of the historical Tibbetts Opera House in Michigan, and we are so excited to welcome him here. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Peter Riopelle. How you doing, sir?
Hey, great. How are you, man?
I'm good, and you're not standing, so I don't have to tell you to sit down.
No, right, you're right.
You heard that a million times, I am sure.
I have, but I never tire of it.
How many times have you played John Adams, do you think? Have you
five times professionally, yeah.
Oh my goodness! So yeah. five runs, 5 different runs.
Right. Yeah. Amazing.
And what would you say? Like, has it changed? Has your performance changed from the first time you did it the last time, or do you think you've grown?
I think you always find new things. I mean, it depends on the cast, right? I mean, if you've ever done a show twice, you know, you're getting different input, different performances from other actors. So yeah, I mean, it changes, the nuances of it change, but the journey tends to be the same.
Yeah, the show allows for a lot of interesting potential interpretations as well. When we did it with you in 2016, we kind of had this prologue, right, where we started in present day and everybody came out in suits, and then you took their modern jackets off and it was a very cool transition to colonial, and it worked really, really well.
Yeah, that was awesome.
But that was our biggest show in terms of cast that we've ever done.
Is that right?
It's like 25, something ridiculous, right? And all men, pretty much.
Two women.
Yeah. But all men.
But Abigail Adams always said, "John, remember the women."
Of course. And Peter. Rich Madeline needs to know what episodes you were on in West Wing. Cue it up.
Yeah, I mean, it was Posse Comitatus, which is the last episode of the 3rd season, I think, and then I came back just as sort of in passing. Bartlett for America was that one, and then Posse Comitatus was the one that I came back in.
Cool. So you were John Adams in our production in 2016, and we are joined tonight by our next guest, who's someone who was in that production with you. And our next guest, James Sanford, has spent more than 20 years in the Kalamazoo area, first as a student at Western and then working for the Kalamazoo Gazette as an arts reporter and film critic. He's appeared in numerous shows, such as The Life and Adventures of Nicholas Nickleby at the New Vic, Dinner with Friends at Knockabout Theater. He did work at the Whole Art and the Kalamazoo Civic, What a Do Theater, my goodness, and 1776 at Farmers Alley. He is the creative manager of the beloved Alamo Draft House, or was in Kalamazoo, but is now the creative manager of the Alamo Draft House in Charlottesville, Virginia, and lives across the street from Thomas Jefferson's former home, Monticello. James, is that true?
It's absolutely true.
Oh my goodness!
Go out on my porch and look up at it. So
I was there when I was like 12.
Wow!
It's absolutely gorgeous, and they every time that I go over there. They're constantly updating and changing it, and they've got wonderful tours now where they go through, not only the stuff that everybody knows about Thomas Jefferson, but also they've gone out of their way to address the slavery question and some of the stories that spring from that. So it's really a wonderful place. So
that's right. And James, in our production of 1776, you played the role of James Wilson.
Yes.
A representative from Philadelphia or from Pennsylvania who has the honors, who basically in the show ends the show, right? Like
the deciding vote.
The deciding
tiebreaker. Yeah.
That's right. And it was a great moment. You played that so well.
Thank you.
Do you have any memories from that production?
So many memories from that production. It was
aside from the smell with 25 guys backstage, late summer.
It was. People thought that we were really uncomfortable, and it actually wasn't that bad for where I was sitting, I guess. Yeah, just putting on all those clothes and sitting around, that was something. But yeah, I had such a wonderful time doing that show. It was an amazing cast. And such great material to work with. I had seen the show a couple of times, and I had sort of seen the movie in school when we weren't all sitting there gasping at all the sex jokes in it and that kind of thing. So, but I couldn't say that I really knew 1776 that well. And working with that script, it's really one of the most literate musical theater scripts around, because a lot of times you feel like you're in a drama where all of a sudden, somebody's singing. Oh, it's time for us to dance.
Well, I think it holds the record for the longest time in between songs.
It does, between the Lees of Virginia and
45
Mr.
minutes.
Adams. Yeah, over half an hour.
That's for sure. Well, there is also another musical out there that definitely doesn't have that span between songs, and that's Hamilton. And our third guest has a connection to that production. So let me introduce Mr. Ryan Vasquez, Farmers Alley alumnus from Next to Normal in 2013, and also graduate of the University of Michigan. Go Blue. He has since performed in the Broadway companies of Wicked, Waitress, and Hamilton, where he has the distinct honor of being the only individual to play the roles of Hamilton, Aaron Burr, George Washington, James Madison, and Thomas Jefferson. In addition, he has a little policy debate experience from high school, so he's feeling pretty good about tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Ryan Vasquez. What's going on, sir?
I don't know who wrote this bio. It was out of my hands. I don't know.
So you are officially a swing then for the current or for the company?
Yeah, technically a standby, but yeah, it's the same gig. It's I'm off stage most nights, and when I am on, I'm playing one of those roles that you mentioned. So I used to have a track that was on stage in the show every night, and after I was observed my body breaking down, I respectfully requested to be off stage for a little while, and it worked out, as is his life with Hamilton, a show like that, a big juggernaut show. There's a lot of moving parts in different companies, and people are wanting to go out on the road or wanting to come home to New York, and so the constant shuffle makes it kind of convenient to know all those things, because we'll always be working somewhere, doing the show somewhere. So.
Right, because I know you did the show in San Francisco,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, we did a tour that went through San Francisco and LA for a whole year, like 6 months in both places, which is awesome. And I'm from San Jose, California, so I was right by my family. So yeah, that was like a dream come true. And then did a few more cities after that on that tour, and you can't even call it a tour. It was Hamilton, so it was like 6 weeks sit downs everywhere you went. It was like really ridiculous.
And then you went to New York, and you were there when everything stopped, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I've been doing the show in New York since like mid 2018. And and was at the theater Wednesday night, and not at the theater on Thursday. I'll tell you that. I was at the dog park, and I got a text from a friend hearing that the first like domino to fall was Moulin Rouge, and they had canceled amongst their cast. And I was like, all right, definitely not going in if they're not going in. So and then we really weren't going in.
With everything, with Hamilton this weekend with Disney Plus, and everybody's watching, it's this huge, big thing. And I also like how something that's going around on social media, which is saying, look, I'm glad you're enjoying the show, but everybody that you're seeing on that screen and everybody's name who worked on that show, they're not working right now.
Yeah,
They're unemployed. We can't, we were one of the first industries to close, and I think we're going to be one of the last to open.
For sure. And you know what though, what I just have to always tell myself, and is that because of that, there's going to be such a hunger for and energy on both sides of the fourth wall when this is all over, for live performance and to connect in a way, and to be able to, not the COVID art that comes out of like I was bored and wrote a book. It's like the art that comes out of what's really being conjured up right now. And now with everything else piled on top of it, it's like we're not even just talking about a pandemic. So people are going to be looking to contextualize what they're going through right now. That's like what art is. And I'm really looking forward to like a fierce energy on both sides to consume it and to perform it, because
there is definitely a transition, a sea change happening, I think, in this country in every way. But in the theater world, I think we're going to see some interesting things happen in the near future.
Couldn't agree more, man.
And since all four of us are dependent on that industry, let's just all relax and take a break. And let's talk about some great musicals, folks, okay? So let me give you the rules real quick. It's not a trivia show, all right? There are no right or wrong answers. I'm going to ask an open-ended question relating in some way to the theater, and our three contestants. Oh, my God, I didn't introduce Rob.
He doesn't even care.
You guys know
doesn't even care. I am here as well,
I'm sorry, Rob.
You guys know each other?
I got so excited.
Is that a 1776 connection that you both know each other?
Yes.
What's the...
We represented Michigan in the 13 original colonies. And, no, oh gosh, don't get me started on history, because if I forget history, I'm doomed to repeat it. But I am here as a fact checker. Adam is the host because he has a lot more knowledge of this history stuff than I do. So I'm just going to let you know the fact checker might be a little light tonight. But because I'm also watching something on Disney Plus that dropped this weekend. It's called The Mighty Ducks. And Gordon Bombay, I paused it, but I'll be with you in a second. But guys, all I got to say is I am looking for a mind at work.
All right, good. Thank you, Rob. Yes, so Rob will be kind of keeping us honest with the time and folks.
Justice Robert.
For sure. Okay, I'm sorry, Rob. Let me go back. Let me continue with the rules. So we're going to get a question, and everybody will have 45 seconds to answer, right? Give their own individual answers, and then I'm going to open up the floor to a group discussion. And the contestants will do their best to convince you, the audience, and ultimately me, the judge, that their answer deserves to be deemed the best and worthy of the round's point. It's all about the argument, folks. So bring the passion and let's go. So are we all ready?
Ready.
All right, Let's ring that Liberty Bell. Make sure you go to StreamYard.com/Facebook to be able to comment. And here we go with question one. So, if you haven't been living under a rock, you know that the musical Hamilton dropped on Disney Plus this Friday, and folks, it's a game changer. Giving so many the opportunity to see this groundbreaking work is unprecedented, and it's amazing to follow social media and seeing people who are discovering this masterpiece for the first time. There's so many fantastic elements that come together for this show, but it can be argued that it starts with the lyrics and the story. So I'm going to start with that tonight as well. So first question is, what is the most powerful lyric in Hamilton? And to start us off, Mr. Peter Riopelle, what is your answer for this question?
Okay, I had a really hard time with this one because I kept debating myself. Do we want to go individual or do we want to go world, right? So first I was going to say, okay, the world, that America, you great unfinished symphony, that one you sent for me, you let me make a difference, a place where even orphan immigrants can leave their fingerprints and rise up, right? That's from The World Was Wide Enough. And that's like a perfect microcosm of what's going on right now. But then I also had the personal, when Burr sings, wait for it. I'm the one thing in life I can control. I am inimitable. I'm original. And the dictionary defines inimitable. Oh, is that it? So I'm going with the second one.
Finish your point.
As so good or unusual as to be impossible to copy. And I think like that is what, like, if we all have that, like it's connected to the other. And so I'm going with that one.
All right. Very good. A great line for sure. And it made sure everybody learned the word inimitable for sure. I know I looked that up too. All right. Next, James, what is your answer for the most powerful lyric in Hamilton?
Again, there were so many to choose from, but the one that kept coming back to me was, let me tell you what I wish I'd known when I was young and dreamed of glory. You have no control who lives, who dies, who tells your story. The reason that this really spoke to me was because I think this perfectly illustrates the separation between youth and experience. I meet so many young people who go through life waiting for it to get easier, waiting for it to get more predictable, waiting for things to settle down and everything's going to be, the way that they want it to be. And the fact is, you get into your 30s or so, and you realize that never really happens. You're never really that much in control of your own life.
Very good. Very good. Totally true as well. Finally, let's go to Ryan. Ryan, I'm sure you've heard these lyrics tons of times. What do you think are the most powerful lyric in Hamilton?
So obviously, yeah, there's a lot of good ones, but I went with what is a legacy? It's planting seeds in a garden you never get to see. And Hamilton at its core, right, is about the passage of time and how stories are told and retold and shaped often by the victors, and how where we've come to now is this huge innate debate about what history is valid and real when it all did happen, and the telling of it in something like 1776 and something like Hamilton, the historians who are telling it are almost the fact checkers themselves, right? So I think that the message of that and the message of what we're leaving that we never get to see perceived is, I think, the most moving part of the show.
All right, very good. 3 excellent answers, but only one can be deemed champion. I guess, unless somebody has something they immediately want to say, I have a question, I guess, for James then to start this discussion off. I guess Burr, who says that line, could that line be seen as selfish, or he's wait for it, right? He's all about waiting, talk less, smile more, keep things close to your chest, right? Yeah. Is that the best way to, you survive, I guess, but you don't get what you want? Is that maybe the best way to live your life?
I think it speaks to the broader question. I think it's perhaps he's speaking with wisdom he doesn't know he has. That because, of course, in Hamilton, at the time of the setting of Hamilton, he would have been very young. He would have been in his early 20s. So, that would be a pretty potent thing for somebody of that age to say. But I think the reason that it really speaks to me is because we really, as much as we want to exert control over our lives, as much as we want to feel like we're the masters of our own destiny, in the end, we really don't have that much control over it. And when you're gone, as we're seeing with the Confederate monuments here in Virginia, which are quickly tumbling down, then you really don't have any control over how people perceive you or what they choose to take out of your life or your experience and say, oh, this is what you represented. This is what you were all about. Well, nobody's one-dimensional. Everybody's got a lot going on in them. And unfortunately, you're not always going to be remembered the way that you want to be. Sometimes, people are glossed up.
Are you then kind of making the point for, sorry. Actually, I don't know why I went to you, James. I was like, are you making the point for James by saying that with Dream to Glory? Because I said, I guess for Burr, that's why I went and asked for Peter.
Oh,
because Burr.
I'm erasing my answer there.
No, James, you communicated correct. I'm off tonight.
That's fine.
You did a great job of steering that towards your own point, which is great.
We're all on everybody's team here. I know what you're saying, but I mean, really, to James's point, I mean, in defense of Burr and the line itself, like, I am the one thing in life I can control, right? I am an original. So, it's said that there's a huge difference between your reputation and your character, right? Your reputation resides in everybody else. You don't have, there's a great book out there called What You Think of Me Is None of My Business. And it's basically the difference between character and reputation. You can't control your reputation, but you have ultimate control over your character, right? That's the only thing we can control. So that's why I picked this lyric. Like, it is the most self-empowering and also the most because what we're seeing right now is a lack of individual responsibility, and so that's what we need more of. We need more people to step up into their own uniqueness, into their own voice, right? And see that we are special and that we are irreplaceable as human beings and as individuals.
So it's interesting. So Peter gives the answer of, like, this is the powerful lyric of, you have to understand your character is the most important thing that you can control. James says the most powerful lyric is, you have to know that you have no control about who lives, who dies, who tells your story.
And there's one lyric that acts as the synthesis of the two.
Yeah.
But truly, right? Because in the same way that we're talking about, you having no control over the way that your story is told, you can act in consistent character your whole life, and things can happen to you that alter your story in the moment. But things can also happen to you in the retelling of your story generations down the line that change. I mean, what would we know about Alexander Hamilton if not for both Eliza Hamilton and Lin-Manuel Miranda and Ron Chernow, right? All three, who wrote the book that Lin read and adapted the show from. Three distinct perspectives on this person. Lin approaching it from like an almost autobiographical sort of, and as the writer, there was this just like meta layer to that like he has become an authority on the figure. And that's what I mean about history and the sort of retelling of history and who the historians really are. Because I think what we're seeing now is that the historians have been the same people since the founding of our country. And now all of a sudden there's a new generation of historians who look and think differently than those people have. And how Hamilton and how Eliza Hamilton, sharing his story and documenting his story, would have thought that his story would be perceived, the seeds they planted in the garden and the legacy that he left, not just being on the money, but it's like what it's doing for the country now, coming out this weekend, is unfathomable to those people about whom the show is written. So I just think it's such a good source of perspective of both the personal and the sort of broader. world.
But it begs the question then, what is a legacy? Like, are you talking about a personal legacy, or are you talking about, right, a larger legacy for the country or for, and
legacies can be good or bad too,
Well, I think Hamilton was certainly talking about the legacy of a country that he took such pride in crafting, the systems. It's like I always laugh at the line in Hamilton when Eliza says, "We don't need money, we don't need a legacy," in that first song. And I always think when I'm playing Hamilton, I'm going to cheat on her, because it's like, you do not share the values. He wanted nothing more than a legacy. He wanted nothing more than to pass on not only his genes, he had like 9 kids, but his, with like, a personal legacy at its sort of most binary, but like,
wanted to die a martyr, right?
Yes. Oh yeah. I mean the most, what is a legacy to him is a really sort of potent question, because I think it was both sort of equally.
Well, we spent a lot of time on this question, as I think I expected it, because there could be, 8 more choices and be just as valid. Rob, do you have anything?
Well, I kind of think it's a little unfair when you have someone in the Broadway cast of Hamilton, you're asking them questions about Hamilton, but whatever. I'm learning a lot, because the lyric that I was most familiar with from the show Hamilton was Alexander Hamilton. So nobody said that one.
That's a good
and
one.
I was looking up the definition of legacy, and it says an amount of money or property left to someone in a will. So no mention of a garden whatsoever. So it seems like Lynn really dropped the ball there.
Yeah, I'll have to let him know.
That's all I got, Adam.
Okay.
That's my comedy.
Sorry. And craziness, because my daughter just walked in here and tried to get on the screen, and I'm just like, stop. So you hear all of you.
It's your legacy. It's your legacy.
Right.
That's right. That's right.
Margot,
you know what?
Tell your story. Margot
That's for sure. For sure. Excellent answers, all of you. I am going to give the point to Ryan, I think, because, I don't know, I guess he knows more about it than all of us. But no, I think it's a great point how you tied that back into legacy, for sure, and as a synthesis of the two previous quotes. My aunt on social media gave that quote, "What is a legacy?" as her favorite quote this past weekend. For the work that she does and she advocates for. She's not going to see results, but that's what she hopes for. But all right, Ryan, on top early, but we are just getting started here. Now let's get into some more fun, less philosophical questions, if you will, with question number 2. All right, so it looks like a Hamilton viewing will become a 4th of July tradition for many. There is already, however, a classic musical with that same honor that's been around for about 50 years, and that's 1776. Now, 1776, folks, is about as American as you can get, as it documents the lead up to the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And Lin-Manuel Miranda has inferred in interviews and such that there never could have been Hamilton without 1776. And that show has been performed now for half a century, including our version in 2016, and it finds relevance no matter when it is produced. It's amazing. So I'm casting all 3 of you guys as producers of a new production on Broadway of 1776. So who would you like to see cast as John Adams in a 2021 or 22, whenever we get back on the boards, Broadway revival of 1776, and why? And the first person to answer this tonight question will be James. So James, who do you got that's going to be above the title?
All right. I went with a big star, but I think I can support the choice. The person that I have cast as John Adams is Jake Gyllenhaal. And the reason that I had cast him was because, 1, he can sing, and 2, I was thinking back on his performances in movies like Zodiac and Brokeback Mountain, End of Watch, Nocturnal Animals, Wildlife. He has this combination of intensity and drive, and yet sensitivity and thoughtfulness that I think are absolutely perfect for the role of John Adams, because a lot of the times he's very bold and strident and pushy, but then he has these solos where he's much more introverted. And I think Gyllenhaal can do it both. Wow.
Very good.
Get the post.
All right. Moving from Mysterio to someone who, someone else next.
What a segue there.
It's like Chase Allenhall, it's Mysterio, right? Ryan, who is your star for 1776?
Okay. Over the last several weeks, I've been watching a lot of Living Single for the first time. By the way, is hilarious. And young Queen Latifah in Living Single is a comedic genius, but just like we were just saying, sort of has this nice balance of bringing a lot of sort of light humor and high energy sort of intensity to a role, but can really bring it when she needs to be emotionally available and all of that. And I think if 1776 needs anything, it needs a little pep in its step and some humor and a little lift. And I think Living Single Queen Latifah can provide that.
All right. Living Single Queen. So are we making a specification like this is Living Single Queen Latifah instead of like Last Holiday Queen Latifah?
I mean, if we want to keep it age appropriate, no shade. Like I feel like Queen Latifah now is a tough choice, but you use our imaginations, you know.
Oh, she looks great. She can do it.
Of course he does. Of course.
Very good. All right. A good answer there, Ryan. So finally, let's go to Peter, John Adams. Who would you like to see play John Adams in a Broadway production?
I was like, this is like the give me question that you guys like. I'm going to cast myself, man. I mean, come on. I mean, like, no disrespect to Jake Gyllenhaal or young Living Single Queen Latifah, but like, I mean, I'm being slightly tongue in cheek, but like seriously, like there are a handful of roles, and I'm sure the other actors would agree about that. That when you pick up the script, like you really know, you can read it, and you know this person, you know how to play it, you know the nuance and everything, and that's like there are a handful of those in my life, and John Adams was one. So that's my. I'm being slightly cheeky, but
No. So Ryan and James, how are you going to tell Peter that he cannot have his dream role on Broadway?
Right.
And Jake and Queen Latifah needs to.
We're not going to be able to afford Queen Latifah for another at least 5 or 10 years in this market. So
you're just giving us. Look, man, it's a business.
Yeah.
We got
commitment.
That's right. Yeah, we'll save on the star salaries.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, I certainly say he says that tongue in cheek, but Peter, like I've seen you do the role. I mean, you can give everyone who's done it a run for their money. That's for darn sure, and it's a amazing part. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Thank you.
Well, no, it was funny because when I was watching the movie again yesterday, William Daniels is in the movie and he originated the role on Broadway and all that stuff. But I still kept watching him, and I could hear your line readings and I could hear your phrasing in the songs, and I was like, "Yeah, William Daniels, you're great." But
that is high praise. That is high praise. Man.
It was good. It was.
Yeah.
So, but like, let me ask you this, Ryan. Like, your Queen Latifah, like, how would the rest of the cast? And let me put you on the spot here. Surrounding it. What are we doing here? What is your concept then? Or is everybody kind of are we taking the Hamilton route then in that respect?
Yeah, okay, well, in the spirit of, people talk about this with Hamilton too. They're like, when will we just be casting women in these roles? Like if we're reimagining the history, which is what you're supposed to do and suspend disbelief. It's like, when will we begin to suspend disbelief in that way as well? It's funny how like the mental blocks start to pop up, and you're in a show like Hamilton and challenging audiences in the way that you are, and so proudly, and then it's like, but like the women won't play the male principal roles. Like that's just kind of an odd thing. And so there is a production of 1776 that is like in the works that was headed to ART, I think, and that is gender bent. And so that's kind of like what got me thinking about it, to be honest. It was funny. I was like, a 2021 revival of 1776 added to the list of things that were that were actually going to happen. I was like, oh, I wonder who is doing that.
It's still going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
Lucas Perry, I think.
But Peter, would you want, like, how would you like to surround your cast? Would you want, other? I mean, what do you see?
I will say this: like Hamilton, the thing that is unique, so unique about Hamilton is that it did break all this new ground, right? I mean, as far as like it was revolutionary. To use the term. So I mean, I'd be totally open to that, but like I'm also a traditionalist in a lot of ways too. So, but it's like, what's that balance? I mean,
yeah, talk about a cheeky answer. Like obviously Queen Latifah is like the thing honestly, but that you're totally right about, I think, is like Hamilton, it's serving the story to make
exactly
a like that. You're telling the story. They describe it, the design from the waist or from the shoulders up is contemporary, and from the shoulders down is not. Right. So it's like the hair and then your mind, obviously, and the words and everything like that. And so it's like that's a fascinating sort of element of it that makes something like 1776. It doesn't lend itself to that unless you're going to change the language and the sort of book and everything. It's like
you cast Benjamin Franklin as a woman, you get some interesting sexual tension happening there between John Adams and
Ben had his own stuff going on. He didn't need John.
That's true.
I want to see how the ox and bull joke plays with women. Yeah. There's going to be some rewrites.
Anybody have any final words, final thoughts on their choices there? Or should we go to Rob? Rob, do you have any? I haven't. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, as was mentioned by Ryan, there was a production, or is a production, of 1776 by the Roundabout Theater Company that Diane Paulus is scheduled to direct, and of course directed Natasha Pierre and the Great Comet, and won the Tony Award for Pippin, that revival. And yeah, it's a gender-bent, all-female cast, and the lead actress playing John Adams is Crystal Lucas Perry, who, if I'm not mistaken, is a Bronco from Western Michigan, and I believe, I believe I have this right, but in a weird twist, she played Mama Morton in Western's version of Chicago that I saw, probably half a dozen or so years back. So there is a little Queen Latifah correlation there. But as far as Jake Gyllenhaal is concerned, he does have that great singing voice. He was in, of course, Sunday in the Park with George, and did Little Shop of Horrors off Broadway, and has been robbed out of several Oscar nominations, as far as I'm concerned. But I fact checked that Peter is very good at playing John Adams.
You know what, James, I think Jake Gyllenhaal is a good choice, but you didn't mention the singing voice that you didn't mention doing that Little Shop concert or Someday in the Park.
I had that at the beginning.
He mentioned the voice.
Yeah, that was my very beginning. I said he's got the singing experience.
But how can we not give it to Peter, right?
I know.
It was sort of.
Peter, your cast.
I appreciate it. All right. The check's in the mail to all y'all.
It's done. You're ready.
Gyllenhaal can play Jefferson, and Queen Latifah, since she's so old, according to Ryan, can play Benjamin Franklin.
There you go. It's perfect.
I like it.
All right. Well, Peter and Ryan are on the board. James, we're hoping to maybe get on the board with this third question. Just another reminder, if you are enjoying the show and want to comment, please go to StreamYard.com/Facebook, which will allow you to comment, and you can give your own thoughts on who would you cast as John Adams in a revival of 1776, or your favorite quote, or our third question. So let's go to this now. All right, folks. John Adams and Alexander Hamilton are just a few of the real-life American figures who have found their way into a musical. I know, let's see, the Fiorello, right? That's about Fiorello, LaGuardia, Andrew Jackson, Bloody Andrew Jackson. He's got one too. And there are tons of them in the Assassins, right? So there's always room for more. So I'm asked our three panelists tonight to pitch a new musical based on a historical American figure or event. Who is the composer, and what star will lead the production? So, who's going to be the next Hamilton, right? And Ryan Vasquez, producer extraordinaire, has got the answer because he is going to be answering first. Ryan, what is your show?
All right, so I'm glad that we brought up Monticello and Virginia and Thomas Jefferson and all of that, because my musical would be about Sally Hemings. So Sally Hemings was a slave that Thomas Jefferson bedded at age 14 and bore many children of Thomas Jefferson, and was never emancipated by or his wife had passed. Was never emancipated by Thomas Jefferson, and his daughter, I believe, emancipated her. And just in 2017, I believe, was the first time that the Jefferson estate began to publicly recognize this as a valid history. And I mean, and all this talk about history tonight. So, yeah. So, and Alicia Keys is going to write the music, another amazingly accomplished, beautiful mixed race woman. And the who else? Oh, the star is going to be Misty Copeland, who is the first. She's also mixed race, as Sally Hemings was, and she is the first African-American principal dancer ballerina at American Ballet Theater in New York.
All right, cool, good. So we got. Is it called just Sally Hemings? You got a title? You can think of a title.
Hemings, an American musical.
Okay. Hemings, an American musical by Alicia Keys, starring Misty Copeland.
Yeah. We're going to have a star logo, and she's going to be on the top, and she's going to be doing something, like maybe two fingers, something like that.
Interesting. Yeah. All right, very good. We got Sally Hemings. Peter, what is your great musical that you want to pitch?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm going to give props to that answer, because that's an awesome answer. Mine was, I think we're long overdue for a Martin Luther King musical. And I think it has all of the, it would be, super timely right now. It's an amazing story that has, of all of the icons in, America, he is a giant, and his story has never been told. I mean, even I went back looking for actual just plays, and there are just a handful of one-off, one-man shows and stuff. So that's a story that needs to be told. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay. Yeah. As far as stars, I was thinking Leslie Odom Jr. He's hot. He's passionate. He's powerful. He's charismatic. Hot in he's hot right now. He's
a good-looking man too, for sure.
He's also a good-looking man, right? We have a lot of plays from the era, but not about that era. And there's all kinds of, complex characters. You've got the Kennedys, you got Malcolm X, you got, a lot of things. So,
and who's your you have your composer here too. Who's your composer?
Yeah. Well, originally I was going to say Jason Robert Brown, just because of the passion and his lyrics. I love his lyrics, but then I thought, it should be a composer of color. So that I think would be up for grabs, because that's something that I also realized, that I don't know that many are at least Broadway composers that there are, and that's a problem. So that's what I would say, a composer of color. Yeah,
very good. All right, thank you, Peter. So finally, we have Sally Hemings, we have Martin Luther King Jr. and James. What is your selection for a new musical based on an American historical figure?
Both of those answers are excellent. And yes, Sally Hemings, Martin Luther King. But I am going with a slightly more obscure figure in American history, but I think an absolutely fascinating one. That's Alice Roosevelt, who was Teddy Roosevelt's daughter. She was the first daughter in the White House, and an absolutely amazing, complicated, difficult woman. She was kind of like the Lindsay Lohan of her time, did a lot of crazy things, ran around with bookies and gangsters, got into a lot of scandals, carried a snake in her purse. And then as she became a woman, she married a guy who, Anyway, Anne Hathaway is going to play her. And my composers are Benj Pasek and Justin Paul, because I think they could come up with a great score for it.
All right.
But she'd be an amazing character.
That's interesting. We have three interesting figures here. One that we know, think we know a lot about, and two others that are a little bit more obscure, just like kind of Hamilton was, obviously, a little bit obscure before the show. So let me open it up to you.
And John Adams, by the way, before 1776, John Adams was very overlooked. So to Ryan's point,
yeah, because the biography hadn't been written then. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
All right. What I guess my question. Oh, see, Kathleen says she'd buy a ticket to all three of those musicals. Yay! So we are ready. So I guess my question is, what about Alice Roosevelt? I guess does her life does it move when she leaves the White House? Yeah, tell me a little bit more and your concept for the show. I want to hear about you guys.
It's her story unfolds almost like Eva Peron's in Evita. She wants power, but she's in a time and a place where women are denied a lot of power. So she marries a guy and tries to promote him as a possible president, and it doesn't work. They wind up on opposite political sides. There's tension in the marriage. She destroys her younger brother. And then when Eleanor and FDR come to power, she absolutely detests them. FDR is her cousin, and she publicly has this feud with them that turns into her writing this daily newspaper column called Alice in Blunderland, where she goes through and basically eviscerates every decision that FDR makes. And so she's just like this really turbulent person. She buried a voodoo doll of Taft's wife in the White House lawn. She's crazy. She's crazy. I love her for it. I think she's
Anne Hathaway
amazing. I think Anne Hathaway would be great. You know who would have been really great would have been if we'd done it 50 years ago. Alice Roosevelt looked exactly like Diane Keaton.
Oh, okay.
So, but Anne Hathaway would also be terrific.
That's good. Now, but Ryan, so for Hemings, an American musical, are you how much are you aping, I guess, your concept?
Well, here's the thing also, right? I mean, there's a contemporaneous figure in England named Elizabeth Dido Bell, who was she was also an illegitimate child of a judge in England at the time who was ruling on this case. It's been dramatized into a movie, and I'm actually not sure of what is factual from the movie and what is not. But the real story is that she was emancipated. They made a ton of rulings around the same time about not being able to insure slaves as property and human life as property. She ends up getting married to a white man, and it's of course a scandal and all of this. So, but it's interesting that across the pond, right, in what we escaped from because it was tyrannical, this sort of parallel figure is emancipated and allowed to marry. And of course, there are a million things in the way, and that's what makes it interesting. But that Sally Hemings talk about planting seeds in the garden you never get to see. Sally Hemings isn't even emancipated by her own. She's emancipated by her own niece. It's like that is America's sort of greatest sin that is constantly boiling up, and what we're seeing now. It's I think it would be an interesting story.
My question for Peter would be: would you want to focus on his Dr. King's whole life? Or are we, because there's so much obviously that goes in to everything that he accomplished, but would you do that, or would you focus more on a certain time period?
I think more, starting with the civil rights forward.
So he's already grown, and
I think because there is so much there's so much complexity in what he did and how he was able to do it, and if you read the history, like J. Edgar Hoover and the Kennedys, and just all of what was kind of coming at him, all under the surface, and also he had his own kind of demons that he was dealing with that never came out, and so it's sort of in that way, has a Hamilton and a 1776 kind of, because back to Ryan's point earlier, these are real people. They are not men and women of marble. Historic people are people with flaws and with complexities and with demons and so I think, but there's enough of that starting from, you know, when he started to first, you know, with the civil rights movement.
That's why shows like those work, I think, because it humanizes these, you know, figures we put on a pedestal. And a show like Hamilton or a show like 1776 definitely does that, because they even talk at times in both shows about their legacy and, you know, are they going to think we're gods? Are they going to think we're demons? You know, it's this endless debate, and it's still being discussed today. But oh my gosh.
Today.
3 years ago, or three choices: Sally Hemings, Dr. King, Alice Roosevelt. Rob, you have any thoughts on any of these?
Yeah, I'm not sure what you want me to do as far as fact-checking musical pitches, but I did get off the phone with Anne Hathaway's agent, and she is not in. No, I don't know. What do you want me to say here? You know, I know which one I think is sort of the most timely, and I enjoyed the best the concept for. But I am not the judge this evening, Adam. You are.
I understand. So I'm going to look at this then. I mean, because a lot of these, you know, sorry, and Ryan, I think it's a great idea with Sally Hemings, and she's direct. It could be like a spinoff from Hamilton almost, because she is mentioned and. Kind of, I don't want to take that similar concept. I don't know. Are we ready? Is it too close on the heels of Hamilton? Maybe having a Sally Hemings musical, and in the same way, I just think maybe Dr. King might be too much of a figure to take on. I don't know. I remember there was this, you know what I just found out, this musical called 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Oh, yeah.
Leonard Bernstein's last musical in 1976 about the presidents in the White House from like 1792 to 1900 or something. Flopped, did 7 performances, but Ken Howard, who played Thomas Jefferson in the movie 1776, played all the presidents in that production. I don't know. So I don't know. I would just be worried with Dr. King, and because you know you don't want to focus it, you run into problems there. So I got to give James the win here. I think a Pasek and Paul musical about Alice Roosevelt, bringing in 2 different generations of Teddy Roosevelt and FDR, covering so many times. That sounds interesting to me, and maybe even a little bit lighter. I will say that too, because the other 2 are dealing with some pretty heavy themes, and as does Hamilton. Maybe we just want to be drawn into a story. So I'm giving the point to James, which means we are tied, but we are running long.
I would suggest we do 45-second answer for each of these tie breaks and go right to your judgment.
Okay, ready? Well, 30 seconds. Okay. The tie break question then.
40 seconds.
What one figure would you like to see added to 1776 and why? Peter, you are first here.
Okay, I wouldn't change a thing if I didn't have a gun to my head here, but I'm gonna go with George Washington, and the only reason is because I've done the show 5 times, and I am always constantly asked, where was George Washington?
He was sending dispatches.
Stop asking me.
and that was always my answer. He's there if you listen.
Yes. All right, very good. James, who would you like to add?
George Washington was one of my original choices, but then when I was watching Hamilton over the weekend, I said the only person that 1776 needs is Angelica Schuyler, because what the Continental Congress needs is a passionate, brilliant woman to go in there and shake things up and question the motives of those men and really provide like a different angle. Plus, the show could certainly use one more female role, I think.
That's for sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. Ryan, take us home.
1776, never seen it. Listen to the score in preparation for this debate. Where is my guy, Alexander Hamilton?
He's not fighting the war.
It's like it's almost
Washington.
as if people saw 1776 and said there is a missing person from the founding of our country that deserves extrapolated telling in a hip hop style. And so They made it their own, I guess.
Well,
he doesn't need to be 1776. He's got his own.
He actually would fit in as the soldier. I cannot believe you have not seen that show.
I know.
The young soldier who comes in and has the solo that ends the first act. I mean, that's basically
Mama Looks Sharp. Yeah.
Mama Looks Sharp. I don't know. Go to judgment. So we got George Washington, Angelica Schuyler, and Alexander Hamilton. Alexander Hamilton was too young. He wouldn't get to Philadelphia. He was in New York. That would be anachronistic, and we can't have that for 1776.
Illegal.
Angelica Schuyler, like the only way she could come in like there would be like she's like in somebody's head, right? Or like Abigail Adams, she writes the letters in the show, and Martha Jefferson. I don't know.
I think she just barges right in. Yeah. I think she just kicks down the door.
It would kind of change the whole thing of the show, I think. So for that reason, you could put George Washington in 1776 and have it flow the same, and then people wouldn't have to bother Peter anymore by asking why he wasn't in that. Or you could show up and actually just read the letters that are
exactly.
that are read in
that
there.
Would
so
make
Peter,
sense, actually.
Right.
Peter, congratulations. You are
oh my gosh.
You get to, I don't know, wonder when we're going to be back on stage again.
I think
Peter, congratulations as the winner. What a very, very interesting Broadway battles. I think it's the most intellectual Broadway battle that we've had, which the America History Edition, that's for sure. So congratulations to Peter. Thank you to James and Ryan. You'll get some great party gifts for you. But real quick, I want to does anybody have any messages or plugs or anything they want to give or shout outs?
Wear a mask.
Swing From Home on Instagram. Go to swingfromhome.com. It's an initiative that a few friends of mine and I are starting for down ballot races all across the country. You can remote volunteer for campaigns that need a lot of extra help during this time because they can't fundraise because of COVID. And it's very important. State laws are very important. We're seeing that right now. It's not just the president, it's everything. So
what's it called? What is it again?
Swing From Home. Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. Website.
I've heard of it. Yeah. Cool. James, Alamo Draft House is awesome. We love, and Tibbetts Opera House. We can't wait to see what you got in store.
Absolutely.
But alas, we are on the digital realm for the time being. But that doesn't mean we can't have some fun. Let me bring on our producer of tonight's show and host of what we got coming up next on Farmers Alley Theater at Home, Carrie Phillips. Carrie, great job tonight. Thank you. I did a lot of screw-ups, so thank you for making us look good. What do we got coming up this week?
On Tuesday night at 8 p.m., live on the same platforms, we have episode 5 of Tech Tuesday, and I am interviewing two of Farmers Alley's wonderful, wonderful sound designers, Alex Tobin and Tony Mitchell. They are most notably the creative geniuses behind all of the original music from our production of The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be really, really fun.
Yeah, the sound effects for that. Yeah, oh my gosh, I can't, that was such an amazing achievement that they did. And it'll be great to talk to them about that, as well as a number of other shows that they've designed and worked on. And, that should be interesting. Cool. Well, thank you, Carrie. Yeah. And so we have that on Tuesday at 8 o'clock. And then next Sunday night, we welcome back 2 sets of Wonderettes, folks. The Marvelous Wonderettes. If you've ever seen other productions of the versions that we've done in the past, the Marvelous Wonderettes, Winter Wonderettes. Which one? What's the other one, Rob?
Marvelous Wonderettes: Dream On.
Yes. Okay. So we are bringing together 2 different casts of our original Marvelous and Winter Wonderettes from 2010 and 11 with our newer cast of Marvelous Wonderettes: Dream On from December of 2018. Director and choreographer Sandy Bremer is going to host this colorful reunion that will feature Betty Jean, Susie, Missy, and Cindy Lou × 2. You got That's next Sunday, the 12th, a week from tonight, guys. That's going to be a battle royale. Please stay tuned for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then we've got great content all month long, including a special Grease trivia night. That's going to be Grease and Grease 2, folks. So stay tuned and connected for that through all of our channels. Folks, I want to thank everyone again for coming out tonight. James, Ryan, Rob, Peter, Carrie, thank you so much. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and like our page. Guys, it's been great tonight. Have a wonderful week. Wear a mask. Stay safe. Stay healthy. And we will see you hopefully at the theater real soon. All right. Bye-bye, folks. Thank you.